Hello everyone, welcome to my first video. Today I'll be talking about why I believe that the PayPal stock will grow as a result of their ownership of the Venmo platform. Originally, I was planning to do a video on the entire PayPal stock and the entirety of its component companies, but I believe that Venmo is such a new growing company and has such its own lane that I believe it deserves its own video for the time being. And later on, I could definitely go into the rest of the company and build out from there. So before we go into any further detail, I'll make a brief introduction about what this channel is and what it's doing. A few weeks ago, me and my friends came up with the idea to create a channel called ARG Trading. In this channel, I'm going to come up with my reasoning and rationale behind the stocks that I invest in. I'm going to look into different companies' business models, how they go about making money, and like the prospects for future growth. And hopefully, in the future, everybody that watches this will have some good insights as they trade going forward. So let's begin by talking about what Venmo is. Venmo acts as a sort of micro financial intermediary in the way that you don't need to have a direct bank account payment or direct credit card payment or direct cash payment to send money out. It's an online app that allows you at the touch of a button to be able to send both small and large amounts of money to people, and then you can put money in and out of the account via your bank account. In some cases, it allows for a degree of anonymity with the payments. If you use the private setting for the app, that allows you to send money to people without a direct cash or direct credit card payment. And then for other people, the app can also act as sort of a social media intermediary in the way that it has a feed that shows everybody what your payments are when you choose to make your payments public. So a lot of people wonder, how does Venmo make money? For a new user from the outset, it looks like Venmo is entirely free and makes no money. Small payments and basic bank transfers are entirely free. So that's an easy thing that many users don't really see as they're using the app. So here's how Venmo makes money. So first and foremost, whenever a user uses a credit card to make a payment via the app, they have to pay a 3% fee on that transaction. Venmo doesn't take the entire cut of that though. Usually that's Venmo taking a small loss on having to deal with the credit card fees and the credit card companies. Second of all, if you want to have your Venmo money deposited to your bank account instantly without having to wait a couple business days for the processing, you'll usually have to pay a 1% fee to make that happen. Right now, that fee is capped at a $10 maximum. But that could change later. So for instance, let's say you have $2,000 in your Venmo balance and you want that immediately deposited into your bank account. There would only be a $10 maximum on what that payment would be, as opposed to $20, which would be 1% of the $2,000 that you'd be sending hypothetically. Third, if you're a registered business on Venmo and a registered vendor on Venmo, you'll have to pay a 2.9% charge for any sort of purchases ran through that. That's how Venmo's made a lot of its money as of late. And then finally, Venmo has begun to expand partnerships with some new upstart online apps as a way of payment for the apps. So a big example of this is its partnership with Uber. So for instance, let's say I decide to split a ride with friends and I want it split perfectly evenly, into thirds or something along those lines. Venmo actually has a feature that allows you to evenly split payments for online apps such as Uber. And Venmo can, in some cases, make money off the margins and expand its pay volume through services like this. So here's a listing of some of the pros and cons of Venmo and their business model. So the first major pro is aesthetically, it's one of the most well-designed apps that I've seen on the App Store right now in terms of allowing for affordances and friendly user interfaces. So I do a little bit of web development myself, so I have a lot of experience with this, and I've definitely done a lot of online banking and things along those lines. And so far as I've seen, I think that Venmo is one of the most convenient apps for users out there in the marketplace. With just a few clicks of a button, I can easily send anywhere from $1 to $100 to somebody for any amount of money I want to, all perfectly calibrated as much as I want it to be. It's a lot simpler than using a debit card, a credit card, or having to fork over cash directly. Another major pro of Venmo is its social media features. So now I have the ability to like see like whatever like my friends are buying. My friends have the ability to see what I'm buying. It allows for a lot more user engagement. It allows for the development of a lot more of a social media kind of feel to the app. And I think that's going to really expand a lot of user engagement and encourage a lot more people, especially younger people, to put money on the app. It's almost like an equivalent to like Instagram stories, but with payments. And I think that's a very interesting and creative feature they put on the app there. Another major pro of Venmo is that the e-commerce industry is growing massively every single year. A lot more people are buying a lot more things online. You know, shipping is getting a lot easier and a lot more quicker. Online payments, even for people in older generations, are beginning to use apps like these a lot more often. And another major pro of Venmo, I think this one is absolutely massive and can absolutely be like stellar for the app's future, is the idea of the incumbency advantage. So for instance, in 2006, 2007, there were actually a lot of different websites competing to be like the #1 video sharing app. But obviously right now, YouTube has a functional monopoly on video sharing online. And I could really honestly see Venmo getting a sort of incumbency advantage for itself in the way that, once you have your banking information put on Venmo, once you have your credit card information on Venmo, a lot of users, once they have this convenience created by the app, they're not going to want to switch as much, even if like a new app would come out next year that's just ever so slightly cheaper or takes ever so slightly less off the top in terms of margins off payments. And I think that's going to like really help Venmo establish itself and grow over time because it has this advantage by being like one of the first major players in this new emerging market. So now let's look at some of the cons of Venmo and some of the things that might trip up its future growth, things that Venmo will have to contend with as it goes into expansion. So first of all, it's a relatively easy market for another company to enter and compete with Venmo in. So for instance, banks that don't want to have some of like their margins lost in terms of payments could definitely create an app like this. There are a lot of online banking websites out there. You know, they're not exactly designed to be as simple or as user friendly as Venmo, but if they really wanted to, and if there was enough money in the industry, I would not be surprised if a bank wanted to take the middleman out of the equation and just created their own similar app to Venmo as a way to compete. Another con of Venmo is, as of late, a lot of users are uneasy about their data and their purchases being made public online. You've seen with the cyber analytics scandal with Facebook. In terms of attracting new users, especially over something as sensitive as their purchases, and especially with some of their social media integrations of the app, a lot of users might feel uneasy about having all their payments being publicly visible via the app. That might slow down user growth and turn off certain markets and segments of the population from wanting to use the app. And then another con of Venmo is currently the revenues and profit generated per user are well below what they could potentially be making. As of the most recent statistics I could gather, only 29% of users make payments or do actions on Venmo that result in Venmo making revenue on a given user. That can obviously be fixed in the future though. And we'll see how that turns out. So here is a case for Venmo by some of the numbers that I was able to gather, and some of the reasons why I think that Venmo is definitely in a state of expansion right now, and I think it's in a very good place in terms of its growth and its potential as a company. So first and foremost, Venmo has grown more than double its size in its user base from 17 million users in 2017 to have over 35 million users in 2019. This is more than 200% growth in 2 years. We're talking about exponential growth right here. That's very good to see out of the company. Second of all, from the fourth quarter of 2017 to the first quarter of 2019, the payment volume has gone from 10 billion US dollars to over 21 US dollars in less than 2 years. Again, that's more than double the size of payment volume. And then as Venmo is able to take slightly larger chunks out of payment volume that runs to the app, that bodes well for Venmo's revenue growth going forward. Another major positive sign for Venmo is As of the first quarter of 2019, the app has now started to post net positive returns in terms of profitability. So this is all good to see while Venmo is still in a rapid expansion phase, while they're spending a lot of money on advertising, and while they're still like starting to get more and more money out of their users. And then another major positive sign for Venmo is they're starting to be able to monetize a lot more of the users. So if you look at this chart on the right of the screen, the percentage of users that have made a transaction on Venmo that Venmo has been able to make money on has grown from 0% in January of 2018 to over 29% in December of 2018. Again, this is very important for the app because obviously it has to generate revenue, but it also shows that there's a lot more potential for the app because there's 2/3 of the users still on the app right now that have yet to create money or do payments on the app that could be made money off of. So if you start to monetize more of those users and monetize the existing users more effectively, there's a lot more room for growth. So here are some general industry trends and general reasons that I believe that Venmo can expect future growth with its existing strategies as things are happening right now. So first and foremost, e-commerce has grown massively in the last 2 decades. E-commerce used to be like a new emerging industry, but in the next few years with companies like Amazon growing right now, it will be the standard way that people begin to buy things. So if Venmo can help facilitate a lot of these transactions, there's a lot of room for growth in this end. Just this last year, Venmo credit cards and debit cards have been released. That allows Venmo to act as a pseudo bank in the way that you can like do direct deposits and withdrawals from your Venmo account, and it allows people to be able to make larger purchases with and through Venmo. And I think that should really help Venmo expand its payment volume and allow for more purchases that Venmo can monetize. That's going to be a major reason I think Venmo can grow in the next few years. Another major feature of Venmo is cash payments are declining as a share of total purchases made. A lot more people are using credit cards. A lot more people are using online payment apps and things to purchase different items. I think Venmo could definitely take advantage of this. Already in China, with the app WeChat, if you go around, you'll see a ton of people using the QR code scanners to purchase items without ever actually reaching for physical cash. I think that in the United States, if Venmo can integrate itself with different businesses, they can definitely take advantage of small purchases run through online apps. Another reason to expect future growth from Venmo is, if you're deciding between using Venmo and having to go to an ATM, a lot of people use Venmo because that means, if you don't have direct access to your bank, Venmo's a lot cheaper than having to deal with like credit card or ATM fees for purchases, both on the business end and then on the individual's end also. So I think that's another reason that Venmo should be able to grow a lot in the next few years. So here are some potential strategies that I see for Venmo going forward to continue to expand their exponential growth in terms of their revenue, their user growth, and their profitability. So first and foremost, they can expand their partnerships with existing tech companies as a way to facilitate payments. So for instance, if somebody uses Venmo to pay for Uber, the added traffic to Uber could act as a way for like Venmo be able to take a cut of the payment, and then maybe Uber gives user a discount for using the app. For fast food restaurants with food kiosks, as opposed to like cash registers, you could like make payments go a lot faster by having a QR code scanner. In China right now, this is a major way that payments are run, and I think in the US that could be a major market that Venmo could tap into as a way to like facilitate smaller payments. Another way Venmo could make money is by making money through ad revenue on its public feed. So companies could advertise specials on like the public social media feeds, and I think this would be a great way to make money because it allows companies to advertise where people are actually sending out their money. I think that'll lead to a lot of like revenue growth for a lot of these companies. Venmo could also potentially make money on selling data on its users' habits, especially on their public feed, because as it is, users are somewhat consenting to having their purchases be publicly visible. So any company that wants to take advantage of that definitely could. Now that might turn off certain users, but that could definitely be something that Venmo could look into for the future. In order to gain users, Venmo could also do more integration with other social media apps like Facebook and Twitter to help expand into new markets and with older users. That way, like people could see payments on Facebook and also have Facebook social media feed integrated with Venmo's social media feed part of the app. And then finally, Venmo could expand partnerships with banking and other institutions, whereas instead of banks trying to compete with Venmo, they could kind of grow in synergy with Venmo. And I think that's a major way that Venmo could expand going forward. Yeah, so as a result of everything I've seen in this video, I believe that PayPal is a good investment. I think Venmo has a massive amount of potential going forward, and I think that'll help the whole stock as an entirety. Here's a list of some of the sources that I've used to create this video. If you guys have any further questions or comments, feel free to reach out in the comments section. Thank you so much.